He sat at that gate every morning, even when his paws were bleeding. No one knew why he refused to leave, until they learned who he was waiting for. Every morning at exactly 6:12 a.m., the dog was already there, sitting, waiting. His body faced the rusted iron gate, his eyes locked on the space between its bars, as if the next second might finally bring what he had been promised. Rain soaked his fur. Snow clung to his paws. Summer heat burned his skin. None of it mattered. The dog refused to leave the gate, even after the pain, because behind that gate lived the last moment his heart had ever felt whole. The house beyond the gate had been abandoned for nearly a year. Peeling paint curled away from the walls like dried scars. Windows were boarded shut. Weeds climbed higher each month, swallowing the walkway. To everyone else, it was just another forgotten house. But to the dog, it was still alive. It still breathed. It still held footsteps, laughter, and a voice that once said his name with love. People noticed him at first because he didn't behave like a stray. He didn't wander. He didn't beg. He didn't chase cars or bark at strangers. He simply sat, day after day, perfectly still, like time itself had stopped for him. Neighbors brought food and water, placing bowls near the gate. He ate only when he could keep the house in view. If anyone tried to lead him away, panic flooded his body. His legs stiffened. His breathing turned sharp. His eyes pleaded, not with fear, but with desperation. Leaving the gate felt wrong, like breaking a sacred rule. The dog's fur had once been thick and golden, glowing in the sunlight. Now it hung dull and tangled against his frame. His ribs showed when he inhaled. One ear drooped permanently, torn long ago in a moment no one but him remembered. His paws were cracked, bleeding slightly from standing on cold concrete for too many nights. Still, he stayed, because pain was familiar. Leaving was not. The man who lived in that house had been named Daniel Brooks. Quiet, gentle, the kind of man who spoke softly and meant every word. He moved into Willow Creek, carrying more grief than furniture. Years earlier, he had lost his wife and young son in a single, cruel moment on a rain-slicked highway. The world had gone silent after that, except for one thing, a puppy he named Buddy. From the first day, Buddy became Daniel's shadow. Wherever Daniel went, Buddy followed. Morning jogs through the neighborhood. Late-night walks under flickering streetlights. Long afternoons sitting on the porch while Daniel talked to him like he was the only soul who truly listened. And maybe he was, because Buddy wasn't just a dog. He was the reason Daniel woke up each morning. The reason he smiled again. The reason the house felt warm. Every day before leaving for work, Daniel would kneel by the gate. He would place both hands on Buddy's head, look into his eyes, and say the same words. "Wait for me, Buddy. I'll always come back." Buddy learned those words the way only dogs can, deeply, absolutely, without doubt. They weren't just sounds. They were truth. They were the rules of the world. Then one evening, Daniel didn't come home. The sun set. The porch lights stayed off. The gate never opened. Buddy waited. He sat up straighter at every passing car, lifted his head at every distant sound. Midnight came and went. Morning light spilled across the yard. Buddy was still there, waiting. That was the night Daniel was killed by a drunk driver just 3 miles from home. Buddy never understood death. He didn't know about accidents or hospitals or final breaths. He only knew one thing. Daniel promised he would come back, and Daniel never broke promises. So Buddy waited. Days passed, then weeks. The waiting changed him. Sleep came in short, shallow moments, always interrupted by hope. His body weakened. Hunger gnawed, but leaving felt worse than starving. Cold crept into his bones. Rain soaked him through. Still, he stayed pressed close to the gate, as if proximity alone might bring Daniel back. Animal control came more than once. Each time, Buddy resisted, not with aggression, but with heartbreak. His body trembled violently. His breath hitched. his eyes filled with something no one could ignore. This wasn't stubbornness. This was grief so heavy it pinned him to the ground. One winter morning, the temperature dropped below freezing. Buddy's paws split open, blood staining the concrete beneath him. His legs shook uncontrollably. Still, he refused to move. That night, a storm rolled in, freezing rain and cutting wind. Buddy collapsed, not by choice, but because his body could no longer hold the weight of his devotion. When animal control arrived this time, Buddy didn't fight. He didn't whine. He didn't even look at them. He turned his head toward the gate one last time and let out a sound so soft it barely existed. A broken whisper of a promise still unkept. At the veterinary clinic, Dr. Emily Carter noticed immediately that something was different about him. Even sedated, his eyes drifted toward the door. Even injured, his body tensed at footsteps. "He's waiting for someone," she murmured. When she scanned his microchip and read the owner's name, Daniel Brooks, deceased, her chest tightened. She sat on the floor beside Buddy and spoke gently. "He's not coming back." Buddy responded with a quiet whine, the sound of a heart hearing something it wasn't ready to accept. Instead of sending him to a shelter, Emily took Buddy home. The first weeks were slow and painful. He barely ate, barely slept. Every night, he paced near the front door, staring at it as if it might suddenly open. Emily didn't rush him. She didn't force affection. She simply stayed, day after day, sitting nearby, letting him grieve in his own time. One afternoon, Emily drove Buddy back to Willow Creek. When he saw the gate, his body froze. A cry escaped him, raw, aching, filled with memory. She opened the car door. Buddy walked to the gate, sniffed it, and sat exactly where he always had. Emily knelt beside him and whispered, "You waited long enough." For the first time, Buddy leaned away from the gate and into her arms. That night, Buddy slept without pacing, without fear, without listening for footsteps that would never come. In the morning, he followed Emily out the door and didn't look back. The gate no longer held him. Love hadn't disappeared. It had changed shape. Months later, Buddy lay in his sunny backyard, his fur healthy, his body strong. Emily smiled as he rested his head on her knee. "You waited," she whispered, "and now you're home." Buddy wagged his tail, not for the past, not for the gate, but for the life that had finally opened its arms to him. Because sometimes the deepest love doesn't run or bark or beg. Sometimes it waits, even through pain, until it learns it's okay to stay. This story reminds us of something we often forget. Loyalty doesn't ask questions. Love doesn't look for shortcuts. And some hearts, especially the pure ones, stay faithful even when the world moves on. Buddy waited not because he was weak, but because he loved deeply. And sometimes the strongest love isn't the one that lets go quickly. It's the one that holds on until healing becomes possible. If a dog can teach us anything, it's that love is not measured by time, but by how much we're willing to stay even when it hurts. If this story touched your heart, please like this video so more people can feel it too. Subscribe for more emotional, meaningful stories that remind us what love really means. And share this video with someone who believes in loyalty, healing, and second chances. Before you go, I'd love to know, which country are you watching from? Tell us in the comments below. And if you've ever loved a pet this deeply, share their name. We'd love to honor them.